special topic, very important topic. We have with us Mr. Vipula Wanigasekera, former senior diplomat, Director General of the Tourist Board, and now senior lecturer at National School of Business Management. And he's also the author of Pointers of Enlightenment. And also he teaches and he do programs on meditative lessons for tourists as well. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
And the first question that I would like to ask you, sir, is that being a person who is holding lots of responsible positions, from being a lecturer at NSBM, and also being a member of various different positions, how do you find time to move on to this spiritual side?
Well, most of us are connected to either a religion or a philosophy, one way or another, and there is a search for spirituality. Sometimes when you come across difficult times in life, some people go and pray, some people they indulge in various practices. So this faith or the philosophy that you are following, it comes with you somehow. And in spite of all the studies that I had to do during your time, and also the various places that I worked, I had this quest that I went after. I was born into a Buddhist family, so I had a great admiration for Lord Buddha. It's not necessarily because of the autobiography of Lord Buddha. It's initially he had everything in life, the wealth, the power, and all the leisure time, and he was the emperor designate, so to say. And then one day he just walked out. He just left everything. And we can understand the wealth part of what he has denounced, but at the same time he left the family. And the reason being that he was going in search of freedom from suffering. And after having realized that life is consisting of vicissitudes and ups and downs, and with all that you cannot avoid old age, sicknesses, and finally the death. So he went into this search to find a solution, and that courage that he had for this renunciation is not an average person can do. So personally, I felt that, it's true that he went in search of all that and then went from one guru to another. But finally, what did he discover? And what did he give the people, the masses? And that is what really pushed me into these Buddhistic studies, to find where you stand and in your search to understand the existence, life, and so on.
Yes, indeed. Any person in their human life, they would undergo different stages. They may undergo ups and downs in their life. So, in your life, what were the striking points when it comes to you getting into the deeper studies of Buddhism?
Yes, now, I used to attend a lot of Buddhist discussions, and I also learned comparative religion, the core messages of other faiths. And then I came across some areas which I couldn't grasp at that time. I still remember there was one teacher or scholar, Mr. Alec Robertson. In his discourses, he used to say, thinking without a thinker. And also he was speaking about a mind-created time and space, which is not really there. So these things, you can't grasp in normal comprehension. And I knew that there is something in there that you need to probe into. And also in Buddhist scriptures, I came across some of the sutras that tells us that you need to look at life and existence from a different perspective, because the human model is that I am here, the world is out there. You are traveling along a timeline, and then you have ambitions, and we are all conditioned to find out what is next and what is next. That's how we spend our entire life. But is that the truth? So these are some of the striking points, and which really pulled me into deeper studies. And I went into meditation. I was overseas for some time, and that also gave me a lot of opportunities to discuss with people who are looking at Buddhism from outside, and outside the framework that you can see in Sri Lanka. So that helped us to, or helped me to have a wider spectrum of ways in which the Buddhism is looked at.
And how do your spiritual journey helps you for your normal, regular life? What influence does it have to improve your qualities, and what positive influence what it has to your usual day-to-day life? What improvements the spiritual journey brings to your life?
I probably say that the biggest achievement is the ability to get into someone else's shoes and see how the person whom you are interacting feels. I think this is something that the modern society is lacking, because whenever you make a decision, whenever you talk to someone else, whenever you enter into a discussion, whenever you think of doing something, whether you are capable of having this empathy of, knowing how the other person. It's like, I don't like to be hurt, therefore I will not hurt another person. I think if you can achieve that, it's of course not in numbers, not in terms of wealth, not in terms of power. I think it is the greatest achievement that one can. I'm not saying that, I have all these, I'm an embodiment of, all these virtues, but that itself will make you a person that will not have that much of stress and, anxiety in life, because you always consider what the other person is placed.
Well, yes, when it comes to seeking the truth or the spiritual life, what sort of advice that you can give to our audience, to our viewers who are seeking for this spirituality?
Yes, spiritual seekers, they have a belief initially, and I think this belief is sometimes a hindrance, because then you are already in a framework within which you are trying to understand life and existence. It is necessary for any spiritual seeker to have an open mind and perhaps to be radical in your own thinking, and try to not through a learning process, because if you look at Lord Buddha's journey, there are instances where he had preached to some people who have had absolutely no education. They were simple people. Some are laborers, just working on the street. And one or two words from Lord Buddha, they managed to grasp what he was trying to say. So this has nothing to do with knowledge. So gathering of knowledge is another problem with the spiritual seekers, because you think that you gather so much knowledge, you read scriptures and you master what they call dharma jnana, and then you will gain something. Now that is also another problem. I mean, you become a good teacher, but whether you have understood it or not is another thing. And the third one is the word seeking. That seeking is also belonging to the human model, because you seek every day, you seek what is next, what is next. So if you bring that model into spirituality, once again you walk into a trap. Because if, for instance, Lord Buddha has said the whole world is you, in one of the sutras he said, in this fathom-long body, I proclaim the world. What did he mean? And do you have to go anywhere to find that? Now, this is what I do in my meditation sessions also. I ask the people to take a step into themselves. Where would you go? So this spiritual seeking, the first advice I give them is, ask yourself what I am looking for. What am I seeking? If you think that you are seeking some kind of an enlightenment through which you suddenly have an exotic experience where you will be free from sicknesses, you will be free from all the problems, and after that you will be happy, it's a fallacy. It's Your life continues. But the question is, who is this person who is going through these vicissitudes? Try to find out that person. I think that's an advice to spiritual seekers.
So, and when we talk about the social trends that we have right now, what standpoint that do you have, sir, when it comes to the Buddhism, the standpoint that you have?
I think the social trend is so powerful that it can override a lot of things that we think should happen. Now, the social trend makes people believe that you have to have either wealth or power or publicity to be someone. And that's how even the children are taught by the parents, you have to be somebody. And I remember there was a professor whose son was selected to the university, and this professor was asked, whom do you want him to be? And he said, a good man. You see, and that makes this difference. So, social trend is today has created a huge competition, and every time you look at people, they are going through immense suffering through stress, anxiety, hatred, anger, worries, restlessness. All that is coming into this social framework today. So Buddhism can certainly help the people who are really going after all this and go through immense suffering. And I think you cannot reconcile the current social trend with the core message of Buddhism. There is no connection. And what happens is that now you have so many students who are attending the Hampasal in order to learn Buddhism. But when they enter the society, what do they see? When they enter the society, they look around to see that the recognition, whatever the virtues that they follow, the recognition lies somewhere else. So they get confused. And I think the time has come for us to make a change. And I don't know how, but use the core message and see if you can, like for a simple teaching like loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy. Now, altruistic joy, it's simple to say, but can you practice? Can you rejoice on the success of another? It's easy to say, a lot of people can say, but can you really practice? Are you in a position to be happy over a success of another person? Now, that kind of quality, how can you bring it to the current society? And that's a challenge.
Yes, we'll be talking a lot more on this topic, but meanwhile, it's time for us to take a break, and we'll be right back.